Hey guys, what's up? It's Marissa back for another booktube video. This time I am finally doing my long-awaited review on Wicked by Gregory Maguire. I know I talked a lot about this in my vlog. I really didn't go into a whole heck of a lot of detail though because I was saving it for this video. So, let's get right into it. This is definitely an adult novel. It is not an easy read. It is very deep. It is very involved. However, I will say that I don't think the characters were that well developed. You really don't get a sense for, I mean, you get a lot of backstory on Elphaba and Glinda, and Lear, but you really don't get a sense of like present motivations and why they're doing the things they're doing and why they're saying the things they're saying. And I just feel like there are so many political overtones in this book that the plot of the story is really lost to that. The political stuff really never goes anywhere. I mean, it gives you a nice little story on, you know, what the characters are doing, but it really doesn't go anywhere. I mean, there's nothing resolved. Nothing really happens with it. I mean, bad stuff happens with it, but nothing ever good comes out of it. So I really don't understand why Gregory Maguire chose to portray it this way. I am going to say, spoiler alert, the book ends exactly how The Wizard of Oz ends. The witch dies. Dorothy was the one who killed her by throwing water on her. Okay? Spoiler alert. That's how it ended. That's how everybody expected it to end. So, you know, if you were looking for a different story, don't look in this book because it's not going to happen. So, I mean, essentially, it starts out with Elphaba going to school, and she's this, like, shy, reserved girl, and she just wants to stick her nose in a book, and that's it. And she ends up rooming with Glinda. And Glinda kind of brings her out of her shell a little bit. At first, Glinda's kind of like this snobby, stuck-up girl who only hangs out with the rich kids. And eventually, her and Elphaba become friends. And then Elphaba kind of morphs into this like political character because of this teacher that she had. And this teacher is an animal with a capital A. They have animals, and then they have sentient animals that talk and teach and, you know, hold regular jobs, but essentially they are just an animal. So the whole book revolves around this political aspect of the wizard is taking over from royalty, and he basically ousts the royal family, and then, you know, he says that animals aren't like people, where they shouldn't be able to hold jobs and they shouldn't be able to do all these things. So essentially he's throwing them into like concentration camps. I mean, we're getting flashbacks of like World War II. And so Elphaba really gets into the political scene after one of her animal teachers is killed that she was really close to. And eventually she abandons school, abandons her friends, abandons her family, and, you know, goes underground to be like this political terrorist, if you will. So I thought that was interesting, but Gregory Maguire really didn't play up that part of it. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, she's leaving, and then we flash forward to like 6 or 7 years later when nothing else was explained. Nobody has any idea what the hell she's been doing for the last 6 or 7 years. There's no like character development in there from where she went to like this mildly active political person to this extremist who's ready to kill people for the cause. You get a lot of Elphaba's backstory as far as her family goes. Like, she has green skin, so she knows what it's like to be the outcast, which is why I understand that she really identifies with the animals, because she was an outcast too, and that's how she was treated her whole life by her family, by people in the community, yada yada yada. So eventually one of her schoolmates finds her, and, you know, they have this whole romance thing going on, and then he dies. And then she ends up, years later, her and this boy, Lear, going to his wife's house because, of course, he was married. And just like moving in with her, and she's like, I'm basically just going to tell you everything that your husband did. And the wife's like, no, 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 I don't even care. I don't want to hear it. And Alphaba like forces herself into their lives. She never ends up telling the wife essentially what happened, but you know, she's got this kid in tow, and how the wife never put two and two together, I have no freaking idea. But they portrayed that character of the wife as just like this petulant, bratty child, even though she's an adult and she has kids of her own. And I understand, because her husband was like this, you know, this tribal clan leader, who just happened to be a prince, and he, you know, so he had a lot of dealings in the Emerald City, and you know, he was like a bigwig there essentially, and you know, they married when they were kids and yada yada. But I don't know, I really thought her character fell flat. I thought the characters of her kids fell flat, and there was just a lot of unnecessary drama crap that happens between the characters that, like, it doesn't really go into developing them anymore. It doesn't really go into furthering the story anymore. So I'm not entirely sure why he included it in the books. It was just, I don't know. Once you finish the book, you kind of feel like, okay, the story went how it was supposed to. I got a little bit of backstory, but what the hell is in 500 pages that was worth me reading? Like, he could have cut this book in half, and that would have been good enough for pretty much everybody. I mean, I think he's a great writer. He's very eloquent. He knows a lot of big words, obviously, because some of the sentences in here, it's like, you're scratching your head going, what? What is he talking about? Like, I need to go look this up on dictionary.com or frickin' Wikipedia or something. I mean, I've been reading books my whole life. I can use big words. I'm college educated too. But, dude, come on. Like, I don't understand. I just thought it was a gratuitous, gratuitous. There we go. The $5 word right there. It was just a gratuitous use of these very large words that either have a political or a legal slant to them, and it just doesn't make sense for the book. It doesn't make sense to the audience you're catering to, because essentially who this book is supposed to be catering to is the people that watched The Wizard of Oz when they were kids, and the people that like Wicked on Broadway. Like, I've never seen it. I would love to, but I've heard it's so different. So different. Like, it doesn't even follow the story at all. So, I don't know. I just don't understand. You know, it took a long time for me to get through, but I really do want to continue to read the series, just because I don't know the stories of, you know, the second book follows Lear, who you see in the first book, and then the third book follows the lion, and then the fourth book follows an entirely different character. So it should be interesting, but I will let you guys know. I've been rambling on about this book for about 8 minutes now, so I guess I'm going to sign off and say that I gave this book a 4 stars purely because of the writing in it. If I'm basing it just on the story, I think I would only give it a 3, maybe even a 2.5. But yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and say 4 stars. So anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening.